Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thanks, as always, for tuning in. This week, we've got two of our favorite guests. Former 154-pound world champion Tony Super Bad Harrison is in the building. Harrison, of course, makes his anticipated return to the ring Saturday, April 17th against Bryant Perrella. Main event, Fox PBC Fight Night. Also on this week's episode, unbeaten welterweight prospect Vito Mielnicki Jr. drops by. Mielnicki's going to open up about his televised triple header same night on Fox. Major step up for him. We'll discuss all that with him in a little bit. And finally, on this week's toe-to-toe segment, we're going to create the perfect fighter using attributes from today's current boxers. That's going to be really fun, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of feedback. But first, Mike, some heavyweight action last week, a rematch, Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. Of course, Povetkin knocked out Whyte last year in highlight reel fashion, but on Saturday night, Whyte returned the favor, stopping Povetkin in 4 one-sided rounds. Mike, what were your thoughts on Whyte's performance?
I thought it was a strong performance. Look, he was coming off a fight in which he was just rendered unconscious with one punch. That's not easy to overcome under any circumstances. So what did Whyte do? He got right back into the ring with Povetkin as soon as he could. And it was obvious that he wasn't gun shy at all. He went in there and just beat the you-know-what out of Povetkin until the fight was stopped. It was like the first fight never even happened. I'm not saying that Whyte is a threat to Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua, although he might be. I don't know. I am saying he bounced back nicely from a bad loss against a pretty good heavyweight.
Yeah, I thought he looked just like he looked in the first fight, which he dominated basically, except for the knockout. I thought the difference this time was Povetkin. He didn't seem like he had his legs at any point during the fight. I know he had a bout with COVID, which delayed this rematch. Perhaps that took its toll. And not to mention he's 41. I mean, he looked very slow and his punch resistance wasn't there at all. Nevertheless, Whyte did what he had to do. Who would you like to see him face next?
Well, he wants an easy fight so he can make some money with no risk, which is fine with me. And, honestly, I kind of appreciate his honesty. He's just like, you know what, just give me a pushover so I can make some bucks. After that, I like him against any top contender. We've talked about how much we like Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder. I also like Whyte versus Wilder. I also like Whyte versus Andy Ruiz. I think he's an interesting candidate to fight any of these guys. I could go on and on. Bottom line is these guys have to fight one another until the Fury-Joshua thing is sorted out. We don't know what's going to happen there. And that's okay. There are a lot of good heavyweight fights to be made.
Well, I think we'd say the Fury-Joshua-Wilder thing, since Wilder and Fury are currently in arbitration. But, as far as Whyte goes, I'd like to see him in a rematch versus Joseph Parker. I thought it was a very, very close fight. I heard where he said, I deserve an easy fight. But to be fair, that's what Povetkin was supposed to be originally. That's what Whyte said it was. He was very dismissive, and quite frankly, he was beating up on Povetkin pretty bad up until the knockout. The last time he did what he was supposed to do. This time, I'm not sure a win over Povetkin qualifies for a world title shot. Not in 2021 or 2020 or 2019 or 2018 even. But Whyte does have some decent wins at heavyweight. That aside, to me, he's a rung below the top 3 or 4. I expect him to get a shot at a title, maybe a fight versus Trevor Bryan for the WBA regular belt. But until then, I think he's going to have to play the waiting game. What about Povetkin, Mike? Where does he go from here?
I think he might be done. You said it a few minutes ago. He didn't look good in the first fight with Whyte until he landed that one big shot, and he didn't look good from the start on Saturday. WBC president Mauricio Suleiman made the same reference that you did. He doesn't believe that Povetkin bounced back 100% from the coronavirus. He might be right. I also think he just might not have it anymore. In fact, probably doesn't have it anymore. You mentioned he's 41 years old. His own handlers reportedly are suggesting that he retire. I think they know better than anyone what he has or what he doesn't have left. I'll rarely implore a fighter to retire. That's up to him. But now seems like a good time for Povetkin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he didn't look good at all. He didn't look good, at the weigh-in. He didn't look good at all in this fight. Can't pinpoint what exactly it is, but, as you said, COVID aside, he's an aged fighter. So I think this is as bad as he's ever looked. And if his handlers are talking retirement, then I think he should seriously consider it. All right, it's time to bring in our first guest this week. He returns to the ring in a big step-up fight against James Martin, Saturday, April 17th, live on Fox PBC Fight Night. Let's welcome back undefeated welterweight prospect, Vito Mielnicki Jr. Vito, first, how has camp been for your fight on April 17th?
Yeah, I mean, camp's going great. The training, sparring, strength conditioning, everything. It's going as planned, and I'm in the best shape of my life, I'd say, right now. Coming off another camp for my fight that I had before this.
Yeah, it's been back-to-back camps for you, and I also saw that you took some time away on your IG. You took part in an event to help raise awareness of adult autism spectrum disorder. Can you tell us a bit about that and how you got involved and what that was like?
Yeah, so growing up, there was a young man. His name is Michael John. He's from Roseland, New Jersey as well. And he was actually in my oldest sister's grade, my sister Amanda. He grew up with my sister Amanda, and our families actually knew each other very well. And I thought it was our team, we thought it was a great idea to raise awareness and, just come together as a community and raise awareness for adults with autism.
Wow.
What does it mean to you to be in a position now where you can use your platform to help others in a way like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool just seeing a lot of young kids, even grown people coming out and showing their support, showing their love towards my career, and also showing their support towards adults with autism and showing their bringing awareness to that kind of situation. And just for me, being able to use my voice and my platform and help others, it's something that you grow up thinking about doing, seeing other athletes doing that. And for me to be able to do that now at even just this early point in my career, I can only imagine the things that I'm going to be doing later on.
That's great. Speaking of platforms, you've become a regular here on the PBC podcast. Now, we want to make sure about one thing. Can we count on you to continue to come on the show after you become a world champion?
Oh, absolutely. I love doing things like this. This is just like I just said, growing up, and my dad was always around all pros because he had his own promotional company. So growing up, seeing a lot of pros doing podcasts and stuff, I always saw myself doing things like this. So I love reaching out to you guys and just us coming together, coming on the podcast. I love doing stuff like this.
Great. So you've been in the spotlight for years now, even at your young age. Did your family and friends have to coach you in terms of interviews and how to handle yourself, or does that just come naturally for you?
Yeah, actually, the interviews and stuff is what I don't mind doing, like the interviews and stuff. Like, I don't mind doing any of the stuff, but it's really what I had to get used to the most was talking in front of a crowd. Mm-hmm. Like when my first time at the MGM Grand, I think it was the Wilder Ortiz card, they brought me up in the lobby at the MGM Grand to do a press conference, and there was a lot of people around and stuff, and that was my first time really doing something in front of a big crowd talking, and now I'm used to it, but really talking in front of a crowd was my biggest, the toughest thing for me, but I'm used to it now.
Do people back in Jersey treat you different? I mean, now that you're on Fox, you're a rising star, your name is everywhere. Do you sense people view you or speak to you differently?
Really just going out places and just being just everyone noticing me. That's really the biggest thing. I don't want to be I don't want to walk around with walk around with sunglasses on so people don't notice me. I want to be a part of my community and be comfortable, have people being comfortable to come up to me and just have regular conversations with me because, at the end of the day, I'll always still be a regular, just a kid from Roseland and just a regular person that's how I feel I am. And obviously I'll be on a different platform. Everyone's going to know me and stuff, but I always want people to be comfortable around me, to just come up to me, talk to me, and say hi, bye, how are you, and stuff like that. So that's just the kind of person I am.
Now, does your family play a role in that, sort of helping to keep you grounded?
Yeah, my mom's famous thing. She always tells me it's just always stay. There was this song, I don't know what song it was, but she always tells me to stay humble and stay kind. So, just always stay true to myself and just always just keep working hard, stay dedicated, and all the things that I've dreamt of as a kid will just continue to come to me.
Nice. So you're back training in New Jersey again. Have you been able to get good sparring and so forth, given the pandemic that we're still dealing with?
Yeah, absolutely. My coach Muhammad, my dad obviously too. We're getting great sparring. Like I said, my conditioning, my strength and conditioning, everything is great. We're getting in the gym alone, so we're not around a lot of people. My road work, everything. We're getting everything in there, and camp is just great. It's going great.
Last time you were on, we talked about you outgrowing the welterweight division at some point. How has been making weight been going for you this camp?
Yeah, like I said, thanks to my team, we're eating right. My mom's cooking for me, and we're making sure that everything is right for me to make weight, for me to feel good while making weight, and for my rehydration to go well too. So I'm not cutting down my meals. I'm still eating good meals and still being able to get down in weight. So I do believe this one is a catch weight. This one, I think it's at 152. So okay. For this one, it's 152, but I could still make 47, I believe.
Well, do you expect to fight at 47 for a few more fights still then? It sounds like you are.
Yeah, I mean, assuming I got a little bit taller too, so.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're growing. We forgot about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like I could still make 47, but we'll see how my body reacts to after this fight and, just in the coming months.
Yeah, we can't wait. Now, let's talk about your opponent, James Martin. This is, no question, the toughest test of your career as a pro. He recently went the distance with another rising prospect, Xander Zayas. Did you see that fight? And if so, what's your assessment of Martin?
Yeah, I did. I watched the fight a few times. He's a Philly fighter. He's a tough kid. He could box, quick hands. So I know what I'm going in there, and I know what I'm facing. And really just I have to do my job and just stick to what I do best and just go in there and get the win at the end of the day. That's all you got to do is just go in there and get the W.
Now, this fight's scheduled for 8 rounds. Your second straight fight scheduled for 8 rounds. Your last one was also scheduled for that, but you took him out in 3 rounds. Is the goal here to try and get more rounds in so you can, get that experience, or are you looking to take him out as soon as you can?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's good to get the rounds in, but it's always good to get that knockout. A lot of people, I think when people say, like, oh, I'm going in there, I want to carry him some rounds, I don't think no fighter ever goes into the fight thinking, oh, let me carry this guy more rounds than what he needs to be in there for. So, I mean, you don't get paid for overtime. So, I mean, if I could go in there and get him out of there, that's what I'm going to do. But if we do need to do need to go to 8 rounds, then that's what we'll do as well. We're ready for 8, or we're ready to go 2, 3, 4, whatever it is.
Sounds good. Vito, we can't wait to see you back in the ring. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Again, looking forward to April 17th, and then looking forward to having you on afterward.
Perfect. Absolutely. Like I told you guys, I always love doing stuff like this. So thank you guys for having me on again.
It's time for Mike and I to go toe-to-toe. This week's segment is called Creating the Perfect Fighter. We're going to make the perfect fighter using attributes from today's crop of boxers. And we're going to start with the most important punch in the game, the jab. Mike, who has the best jab in boxing?
Okay, I think it's still Gennady Golovkin. I just saw a tweet from Dan Canobio from CompuBox indicating that Triple G has the highest jab connect rate in boxing, 30.4%. And his jabs aren't just rangefinders. They're hard. They're like power punches. I think that's one reason that Canelo Alvarez had problems against Golovkin. That jab hurts. I'm surprised more fighters don't emulate Golovkin and the other top jabbers. I'll never really understand that.
Yeah, Golovkin definitely. I mean, you think about those two fights with Canelo. He basically fought on even terms with Canelo, basically on that one punch. So it speaks volumes. Now, I struggle with this one a bit. I thought of Golovkin. I thought of Errol Spence, but I'm going to go with undefeated middleweight champion Jermall Charlo. Charlo has an excellent jab. It actually looked better than Golovkin's jab against Sergey Deverenchenko, a common opponent. If you want to compare performances, Charlo's jab was certainly the winner in that department. But other than that, I mean, I've seen him drop quite a few opponents with his jab. He dropped Julian Williams with the jab, Cornelius Bundrant. He's dropped about 3 or 4 opponents with his jab off the top of my head. So it's Jermall Charlo for me. But just listening to our choices, I'm thinking Jermall Charlo and Gennady Golovkin need to fight.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Yeah, and you picked a good one. Charlo's in my mind, is a complete fighter. And starting with the jab, he's just a complete fighter.
Yeah, he sure is. All right, let's move on to the right hand. Who do you got?
For me, it's still Deontay Wilder. You can say whatever you want about Wilder's skill level, but when he lands that right hand, the earth shakes. I keep thinking about his knockouts of Dominic Breazeale and Luis Ortiz. It was like they were shot by an anti-tank gun. And I'll add this. I don't think Wilder is Vasily Lomachenko, by any means in terms of his boxing ability, but he's good at setting up that right hand under most circumstances. He finds the opening and boom. I think he's got one of the biggest right hands ever.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going with Wilder as well. As you said, I mean, one of the deadliest punches of all time, and it's all because of that one punch, that insane right hand. He's dropped every single opponent he's faced with the right hand. I mean, that's saying something. And
that's amazing.
Keep in mind, Wilder is typically outweighed by 20, 30.
That too.
Yeah, 40 pounds. Sometimes more than that. So we agree there. I think that's a no-brainer.
I keep thinking about what his punch would be like if he could make cruiserweight comfortably.
That wouldn't be fair.
It would be murder.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fair. I guess God does things the right way. And Deontay Wilder at cruiserweight might be the end of the sport.
He's almost there.
Yeah, you never know. What about the left hand? Who do you got?
This was a little bit harder, but I settled on Gervonta Davis. His knockout ratio is 24 fights and 23 knockouts. Sort of gives you an idea of how heavy his hands are. But that kind of stat can be misleading, I think. For example, some guys break guys down and then they stop them. They don't necessarily have one-punch knockout power. Davis has one-punch knockout power. Yeah. That shot that put Leo Santa Cruz away was just epic. And I did some math. 16 of his 23 knockouts have come inside 3 rounds, which tells you a little bit more about how he can end a fight with, in an instant, and he does do that.
Yeah. For this one, I was thinking about Canelo Alvarez because he throws it so well, the left hook to the head and body. He stopped with guys with either shot, but I'm going with Gervonta Tank Davis like you. Along with Naoya Inoue and Deontay Wilder, to me, Davis is one of the hardest hitters of the sport, and that left hand is his calling card. I mean, look, his right hook is pretty damn devastating as well, but what he did to Leo Santa Cruz with his left hand, what we've seen him do to countless opponents, it's a no-brainer. As far as I'm concerned. And since we're in agreement there, let's go on. What if we're going to be in agreement throughout this? Let's go to defense, Mike. Who's your pick?
So this was hard for me because there's a lot of good boxers out there. Like, my first instinct was to go with Lomachenko, who I think just does everything well, except for maybe punch. Does everything extremely well except maybe punch. But I went with Canelo Alvarez, which is interesting because I don't think he started out that way. I mean, early in his career, I never would have thought of him as a great defensive fighter, but I think he's evolved into one. He developed the head movement. He's got fantastic instincts. That kind of thing. He's extremely, extremely difficult to hit. So he's my guy.
Yeah, I think for defense, maybe one day we'll be talking about Stephen Fulton here. I thought about Canelo Alvarez too. I think he would probably top most people's lists, but I'm going to go with WBC featherweight champion Gary Russell Jr. I can't recall the last time I've seen that guy's face marked. He's just a smart fighter in there. He understands the geometry of the ring. He's got great reflexes, great ring IQ. I think he's just overlooked in this department, and he renders his opponents, defenseless. It's just very, very tough to land clean on him. It's even tougher to land two punches in a row on him. But I've got no issue with your Canelo choice because I really struggled with this one.
Yeah, Russell's got everything you need. He's got the experience, he's got the instincts, and as you said, he's got the ridiculous reflexes and speed. So he's got all the things you need to be a good defensive fighter.
Right, exactly. Let's get to counterpunching. The floor is yours.
So this also, all these were, when it came down to it, all these were difficult, maybe except for the right hand for me. I thought about Canelo Alvarez for this one too. We had a brief conversation about this off the podcast. Mikey Garcia is a terrific counterpuncher. Juan Francisco Estrada is a terrific counterpuncher. I decided to go with Terrence Crawford. I just think that Crawford is as good technically as any of these guys that I just mentioned, but I think he's a lot faster, which gives him an edge. I was watching a video of his fight with Jeff Horn just to see it, just to watch it. And Horn was, bullying his way inside like he does. And Horn threw something, and Crawford reacted by unleashing this really quick right hook that just like it spun Horn's head around. I was just like, wow, this guy's amazing. He does that kind of thing all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Terrence Crawford because that's who I'm going with as well. And you pointed out all those great counter punches, and the fact that Crawford is faster than them. I read a Stephen Breadman Edwards mailbag on BoxingScene.com where he was talking about the difference between fast and quick, and fast is sort of related to your natural physical talents, but being quick is how your mind processes things, how fast your mind processes things. And Terrence Crawford to me is very quick with his counter punches. He processes what's in front of him so quickly, and he's got great anticipation. He's very subtle, not to mention he's got fast hands. It just allows him to see everything coming and react faster than a tick. I mean, I've seen him score several knockouts off a counter punch, most recently against Cal Brooks. So I'm with you. I think Terrence Crawford wins this category.
Yeah, there's a lot of good counter punches out there, but you can't go wrong with Crawford.
Yeah. Now, next category is ring IQ. Mike, who's your guy?
I think I like to stick with veterans until I can't anymore. I think it's still Lomachenko. He might or might not have slipped physically. That's a different conversation. But I think he still has the boxing acumen. For example, I think he has the best footwork in boxing. He's always in the right position at the right time. And your legs don't do that on their own. You have to guide them. And he's just an expert at that. And he's still one of the best defensive fighter, which takes both reflexes and anticipation, as we mentioned. I think he just anticipates brilliantly. What went wrong against Teofimo Lopez? I still think size played a role, maybe rust, which might have accounted for his slow start in that fight. But I think he's still really, really good, and I think he's going to be back.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go with Lomachenko. I wouldn't go with Lomachenko. He's not someone I thought of, but let me just state who my pick is, and that's Canelo Alvarez. He can box, he can brawl, he knows his way around the ring. He's great at making adjustments in fight, and that to me is the biggest sign of ring IQ. He just processes things so fast in there that for fighters, it's mentally taxing to try and keep up with him. So Canelo gets a nod here. I like Lomachenko. I think he's a mind ninja, but he was so befuddled for so long against Teofimo Lopez, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I was just going to say what you just said. I was going to say I don't know what to make of it. I'm not sure he was befuddled. He just wasn't throwing punches. I don't know, like he was preserving his energy or something. It was very weird. I have to agree that it was weird.
Yeah, it certainly was. All right, let's move on to the hallowed art of infighting. Who's the best in the game here?
Yeah, another tough category. I just decided to go with just a little badass Roman chocolated Tito Gonzalez, who makes his living by throwing a million punches from close quarters. He takes shots, as we saw against Juan Francisco Estrada, but he lands a lot of bombs, as we also saw in that fight. He's just an absolute beast on the inside, even against the best fighters in the world. I mean, if I were a boxer that size, I would not want to tangle with this guy.
Yeah, I like Gonzalez as a choice there for a few categories, actually. But my pick is undefeated unified world welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. I consider him the new body snatcher. Of course, Mike McCallum held that moniker years and years ago. But Spence, he pivots well in close quarters. He knows how to go up and down stairs with both hands. He does it in combination, just wears his opponents out. And I think most importantly, he knows when to get inside, when to come inside. It's not just, right away, round one, I'm trying to attack you on the inside. There have been times where he does that, but he does it the old school way, the way boxers of the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and the 60s did it, where they'd start by boxing you from the outside and picking you apart. And as the fight progressed and you started to wear down, then they'd start working their way inside and breaking down even more as they look to finish you off late. And that's something Errol Spence really does well, so he gets the nod here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to make a quick observation. When I noticed what you're describing with Spence was in the Sean Porter fight. I still don't think that was an ideal strategy for him, is to fight Porter. And I think of Porter as the inside fighter, not Spence. Right. But I thought Spence outfought him on the inside just absolutely brilliantly. Yeah. And the amazing thing about it is he probably didn't have to, which even makes it more remarkable.
He told us that last time he was on the podcast. I don't know if you remember. He said, I probably should have boxed him.
Right. I mean, it's not pretty obvious, but he's got this thing where he wants to beat the other guy at his own game. And I think he demonstrated that he's better inside than Porter, at least as good.
Yeah. I mean, he was a stronger guy in that fight late. It was a great fight. I mean, great close fight. Hopefully we see a rematch down the line. Now, it is time for our last category, the whiskers, the chin. Who takes the best shot in boxing today?
So this was fairly easy for me. Really? I'm going to go with, Canelo Alvarez. In a lot of categories here. The only time I remember Alvarez being hurt was against Jose Miguel Cotto, who's Miguel Cotto's brother. He got rocked, but he survived that and ended up knocking out Cotto. Other than that, he's taken everything that has landed on him. That includes the two fights with Golovkin, who we must remember is one of the biggest punchers of his era. I mean, he knocked out like 400 consecutive guys, before he fought Alvarez. So on top of everything else, Alvarez brings to the ring, he has a chin that would make his countryman Julio Cesar Chavez proud.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find among nearly all of the truly elite fighters have a solid chin, have a good chin.
There's a few that don't.
A few that weren't. But I look at just more recently, guys like Pacquiao, guys like Mayweather. Mayweather had a great defense, but if you got past that, he could probably take what you threw at him. Now this was a tough one for me, actually. I thought of Canelo, I thought of Golovkin, who's got a pretty strong chin.
That's true.
I thought of the Charlo twins, who take punches really well. Mikey Garcia, Juan Francisco Estrada, Sean Porter, who we just mentioned.
All these guys.
I'm gonna go with Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia has taken huge shots from some of the best in two talent-laden divisions. I mean, Lucas Matisse at the time Garcia fought him was just a monster, and he gave Danny Garcia some serious bombs. Couldn't wobble him. Keith Thurman, landed flush on Danny Garcia, who was coming up from 140. Had only a couple fights at 147 when they fought. Landed flush on this guy several times. Couldn't do it. Sean Porter, Errol Spence. I've never seen Danny Garcia shaken up before. He just take the shots. Maybe I've seen him wince, and that's saying something. But he just bites down and keeps going. So it's a close one. I think there are a lot of guys who have great chins, but I'm going with Danny Garcia here.
I like that choice because of the series of top guys that he's fought. He went through a period of just fighting one top guy after another. And you're right, nobody really hurt him. And I like your point on Golovkin. I was praising Canelo's chin, but Golovkin went 2 fights with Canelo Alvarez and never got hurt.
Right.
So all these guys you're right. All these guys, the guys that I think of who maybe didn't have the best chins were Tommy Hearns, and oh man, I'm blanking on and Terry Norris.
Right.
I'm not sure they had great chins, but they were great fighters. But you're right. Almost look at Muhammad Ali.
Right.
Sugar Ray Leonard, I had a good chin.
Right. Right. Marvin Hagler. Roberto Duran.
Hagler, one of the great chins of all time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have that, I mean, that's like a I don't know if this is the right term. It's like a negative weapon. If you don't have that, it's hard to be a really good fighter.
Exactly, because all the best take good shots. I mean, you're gonna get hit at one point or another. So no matter how good you are, so you've got to be able to withstand that. All right, it's time to bring in our next guest this week. He makes his ring return Saturday, April 17th against Bryant Perrella in a headlining event on Fox PBC Fight Night beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The former WBC World Super Welterweight Champion, Tony Superbad Harrison. All right, Tony, first and foremost, it's been almost a year since your father, Ali Salam, passed. He was a great man of boxing. How has camp been without him?
It's been motivating, man. It's been motivating. It's been defining in a lot of different ways. Just continuing his legacy. Doing everything in his honor, and being able to kind of remember his voice in everything we're doing when we're doing stuff wrong, or whether we're doing stuff right, or whether to make the kind of motions he want us to make. It's just been like to be honest, man, the voice is so stuck and embedded in everybody in this gym. He's still here, to be honest.
So do you still hear him like do this or do that when you're training and so forth? I mean, you kind of alluded to it, but he wasn't just your father; he was also your trainer.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, most of the time it only comes when it's boxing, because him being my father, man, we actually spend more time in the gym than anything. So most of our time, whether I was in school or when we got out of school, we was in the gym till 8, 9 o'clock. So we spent most of my time with my father was all from an athletic standpoint. We spent most of our time together clicking on every angle and every aspect of how we can improve and be the best fighter and trainer in the world that we could be. So, that's still the stigma right now as we stand. Every time I come in the gym, man, is he standing right by me when it comes down to turn, when it comes down to him telling me move your head more, you're getting hit too much. They're trying to move your head more when it comes down to use your feet, use your ankles, go to the left, counter, in with the hook. You know what I mean? Like just all of the things that I'm doing, and if I'm not doing it enough, when I come back to the corner and I'm like, damn, I got hit with this shot too much, I get my dad's voice telling me, it's because you're not moving your head enough, or it's because you're not going to, you know what I mean? Just everything he would tell me when it comes down to that aspect of the fight game.
Oh,
Tony, forgive us. Who's your lead trainer now?
My brother, Lloyd Harrison.
Okay, so you guys have been side by side then throughout your whole journey.
Man, to be honest, man, my brother chose a different route. He was never a boxer. Was never really kind of in the gym, but he was like probably one of the best athletes in my family. And my family is full of athletes.
Yeah.
My family, from Antonio Gates to Devin Funches to little Antonio Gates. I think my brother is top tier, but just didn't get like the kind of breaks or the opportunities my other cousins or family members got. But when it comes down to the athletic standpoint, he's probably one of the best in the family. And he kind of understands me. He knows me, and he knows when I'm breaking. He knows when I continue to push. So like I said, my mother and father gave birth to me, but my first teacher was my brother. You know what I mean? Like he was my first guy that really kind of could teach me how to fight. I fought him. You know what I'm saying? Like I walked with him, I fought with him, I ate with him, I hooped with him, wrestled with him. So he was kind of like my first teacher. And this last stage of my career, I want to end it here. I want to end it with somebody I love, somebody that loves me. I don't want to end it with a guy that's got a stellar resume when it comes down to the boxing career, but You know what I'm saying? If I take a loss, you know, I walk out by myself and they walk their separate way and they go another way. You know what I mean? I hate seeing fighters that lose a fight and walk away. And you see the fighter depressed walking a certain way, and then you see the trainer walking another way, like as if the trainer would just had a job. You know what I mean? Like the trainer just had a job to train a fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like he has no kind of emotional attachment to the fighter that he has. It's just a paycheck, and that's considered his job. You know what I mean? Like people go to work every day that hate their job, but they have to go to work because that's their job. You know what I mean? So I wanted to have somebody emotionally attacked, just like I am. I also wanted to have somebody who didn't have a ton of obligations to a ton of fighters. Like, you know, like somebody that's great would have. I wanted somebody that could really kind of dedicate their time to me, dedicate their emotions to me, dedicate their concentration on how we can better ourselves together with somebody that didn't have a lot of fighters, but not only that, just, you know what I mean, just to kind of prove to the world and prove to that next fighter or the next person that's kind of on the fence on making this guy their trainer, whether it's their uncle or cousin. You know, that's kind of a situation that happens with us a lot. I think it's like, damn, do I make this guy my manager? Damn, do I make this guy my promoter? Damn, do I make this guy my trainer? And for me, I'm just going to show everybody, like, just go with your gut. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you got to be able to look in the mirror and go with your gut and say, if this journey does go correct, or if this journey does end with me being a world champion again, I did it with my brother. And just tell the world, like, look, you don't need the most extravagant trainer, teacher, coach, guy that's made 10,000 world champions. But I mean, that truly will help, but just bet on you, and have somebody around you that loves you and could dedicate their time to you, because that's what makes a better fighter. You know what I mean? The better fighter comes with the guy that can get their time dedicated to by one person that can keep improving and keep learning. And you build a bond with one person, man. I'm just gonna show everybody, like, look, you don't have to do it the traditional way out the book. You don't have to go get Freddie Roach or Emmanuel Stewart or you know what I mean, just any guy, Eddie Reynolds or Ramos or whatever the guy's name. That's a great trainer, but you just do it. You do it how you want to do it, man. You know, this story is rewritten every single time by you. You know what I'm saying? You rewrite your story and do it the way you want to do it, and that's just the point we're gonna prove here.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, in terms of the camp itself, has the pandemic affected you at all?
Man, to be honest, man, if you want my real fucking honesty, man, we don't even move by the pandemic rules, to be honest. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, man, like it's really the new way of life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way to live without it no more. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not boxing in the ring with a fucking mask on, though. I'm not walking in my gym with a mask on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the first step to fighting COVID is just being a healthy athlete. Like, I think everybody that walks in our gym is healthy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is whether they have a mask on or not. You know, and then when they come in and they hitting the trim and they're doing 3 miles a day, they jumping rope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's less sustainable for their bodies to have COVID, or even if they did have it, to fight it off so easily, rather than that person that's just walking into the bar trying to get a drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just carry ourselves different. You know what I'm saying? Like people that go in the gym, fitness means something to them. Like, you're not seeing no typical guy from the bar at LA Fitness. You know what I'm saying? Like, just going to get a drink. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, this guy takes his fitness serious, and so do we. So through pandemic, I think like I said, we keep the protocol safe for the guys that are leery of it. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I don't really live with the pandemic rules. I do it my way. I think everything is a faith thing for me. I believe in God more than any pandemic that could ever fucking happen. And I just think when God calls it, You know what I mean? When it's God's calling, you know what I mean? It's God's calling. You know what I'm saying? But like I stayed fit, man. I got like literally like I had COVID and didn't even know I had COVID. You know what I mean? Like that's how well my immune system fought with COVID. You know what I mean? It fought it before I even did anything wrong. Like before anything, I didn't even notice I had it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how well my body fought it. But it all comes from me just being healthy, how the lifestyles I live outside of boxing. And that's any guy that have, you know, that's any fit guy, any fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like I haven't heard a fighter that really kind of had a devastating side of the COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like but really not even fighter, just any athlete, any NBA, NFL. I haven't heard of one yet. You know, maybe it did happen, but the more you strengthen your immune system to fight stuff like this, it fights stuff like this. So, but like I said, our gym is real strict on who we letting in and who we are letting in and who we letting out. So right now everything is just really like when it comes down to the gym, it's all sparring partners, it's all guys that fight, all guys that wake up and run with me every morning. Like every morning we wake up, there's 20 guys out there running with me. You know what I'm saying? Like 5 in the morning we running 6 miles. 5 in the morning we running sprints. You know what I'm saying? So my circle and my stable of guys that I'm around are guys just like me. So we all create a good lifestyle for each other. We all create a healthy lifestyle not only for us but with the families we're going home to. And you know what I'm saying? Like I said, we keep God first, man, and everything that happens from there happens from there.
Now let's talk about your opponent, Bryant Perrella, April 17th, PBC Fox Fight Night, another headliner. Give us your thoughts on Perrella.
I think Perrella is a very tough guy, man. I think the guys that he beat, he was supposed to beat. Some of them probably he wasn't supposed to beat, but he came out victorious on those ends. The Abel Ramos fight, he lost that one by the hairs of his chin at the last second. He probably still would have won, I heard, but I didn't watch the fight. But I heard he probably still would have won. And I think he's just a tough and durable guy, man. And me coming off the longest layoff of my career, I think they picked the perfect guy for it to either be me or him kind of situation. You know what I'm saying? Like he's known to pack a really, really good punch. So am I. And both of us coming off big layoffs. And I think it's either gonna be me or him this night. And it'll be a great showing for Fox to have a free showing of the king, the guy that they've been missing, and the realest guy in the division, and that's me, man. So I think Al did a great job picking this fight, and like I said, I think you can expect fireworks not only for me but the whole card. The whole card is amazing, and I think you get everybody to tune in for one of the best Fox free cards this year. And that's the king. He's back. He's returned.
What do you think your advantages are in this fight against Perrella?
I think the experience, man. I think experience. I think I'm just the best. Really, I just think I'm a better athlete than him. And somebody sent it to me in the group chat. Him chasing a chicken, and it looked like he was just moving in slow motion, man. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really just think I'm just a better athlete. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think I don't even look at his resume or my resume or who he's fought high, you know, or who I beat, who he beat. I think his job is coming to beat me. My job is going to beat him. I don't watch tape because there's no way I'm going to fight him like the guy that beat him or the last guy that didn't beat him. So I just think on my aspect is just to go in there, adapt, see what he does right, see what he doesn't do right, and just come out victorious, man. That's really the game plan. But my advantages are my advantages. I think I know I'm faster, I'm stronger, and like I said, I've taken taking shots for several rounds from the biggest punches in the division. So he's coming up in this division. And I'm taking the biggest and best shots from everybody. And, you know me, I don't think he would be no different. I don't think his power would be any more different than anybody else's. So I think that's his only niche. He can't outbox me. So I think his only niche is to fight and, you know, try to strike strike something where he would get lucky. And if that's the case, that makes for a firefight, and I love firefights.
But you just alluded to this. He's actually moving up in weight for this fight, which sort of makes you the bigger, stronger guy, as you mentioned. Do you think a knockout is likely?
Well, I think a knockout is likely when I fight anybody. So I think, but like I said, I think it's more likely in this fight that he's been off and I've been off. So I think him moving up in weight, like I said, it does not necessarily make him weaker than me, because me losing the weight is actually in his benefit more to him to be able to gain weight than me to be able to lose weight. So, I think it all depends on how he does it and how I do it, and on the physical aspect of it. Whether I'm losing weight or not, I just think I'm stronger than him. Period. So, but like I said, he's moving up in weight, and he's gonna see the difference in the kind of strength, physical strength that this division carries, rather than being a welterweight. And he can move those guys around because he's bigger and longer. And he's going to see that's going to be totally different on the 17th.
Now, the last time we saw you was the rematch against Jermell Charlo, a fight where you were doing very well until he stopped you late. You've had some time to reflect on what happened. Can you give us your thoughts on the fight?
Like I said, I thought the fight was amazing, man. I think that fight was good for the sport of boxing. Not only good for the sport of boxing, but good for the junior middleweight division. You got two of the best brothers fighting each other who didn't like each other. And like I said, me becoming a world champion was the goal when I started. I became world champion, so I had nothing to kind of tell myself like, okay, I'll box this guy. It wasn't for me. It wasn't to just get the win kind of thing. It was like, look, you became world champion. Now you don't got to live your life on a shield no more. You know what I mean? Let your hair go, let your hair down, and show this guy that he's not physically stronger than you. He's not better than you, but beat him at his game. And that was my game plan, was to beat him at his game. Make the bull be the matador. And I thought I was doing an excellent job at that. I just think for me that I'm so comfortable fighting that it makes me lax, and that's the uncomfortable thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm so comfortable with fighting. Like, I've been doing it for so long, and I'm so comfortable doing it that in the midst of a guy shooting at you with a AK-47, I'm in the street dancing because I'm comfortable in those kind of situations. You know what I mean? So I think a top level fight, fighting a top level fighter like Jermell, it was more of a mental lapse of just being solid the whole way through. But like I said, the shot he hit me with, though, it wasn't even like I was even playing around. Like, he just caught me with a shot that I didn't see. It was crazy. It wasn't even like one of his hardest shots of the fight, because he hit me harder during the fight. It was just a shot that I really never saw coming. You know what I'm saying? And he landed it at the right time. Didn't put a lot on it. Didn't try to trigger the shot like crazy. But you know what I'm saying? Hit me with a good shot. You know what I'm saying? Stop the fight. But it just showed that the bull really ain't the bull like that. You know what I'm saying? And you see him in the Rosario fight, he boxed really well, which he always was a pretty decent boxer. So he's back to that. Now he's not really on the tough man kind of guy trying to walk everybody down and stop everybody like that, but he can do it another way. And he's using his attributes, and you know what I'm saying? Kudos to him. Wherever his career goes from here, kudos to him.
Yeah, that was a great fight. You and Mel, that rematch was like a throwback 90s fight, and I think it was an eye-opener also to see you coming forward and attempting to break him down that way. But not just that, the buildup of the fight was just so epic with the trash talking and so forth. Where does that come from you? Is that a Detroit thing, or where does that come from?
Shit, man, you gotta hear my cousins talk shit. You gotta hear my brother. You gotta hear my uncle. I've came like when it comes down to people passing down generational wealthy things. Like, my family passed down shit talking. Like, from my uncle to my granddad to my grandma to my cousin's cousin. Like, that's our generational wealth. Like, we pass that down to the next person. And you'll hear my little cousin talk. Like, man, that's just our generational wealthy kind of thing, man. We talk shit, man. And like, I came up like that, man. I came up where nobody could break you. Nobody could ever break me with words. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and nobody could ever come back quicker than me from me coming up with my older cousins. That's what they did. Like, they made a living out of wilding out. Before it was wilding out in the 90s, they made a living out of wilding out their little cousins all through the house on Pasadena. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's just a family trait. But also it's a Detroit thing, because you can go anywhere in Detroit, man, and they're gonna talk some shit. So I think that's just not only a generational wealth thing on my end, but it's just in our water.
Got it. It sounds like, in spite of that, though, that you have a lot of respect for Jamel as a fighter.
Well, like I said, for me, man, I respect every fighter that goes in the ring. Like, I respect anybody. Like, Detroit is the home of pistol play, so I respect any man that will really just glove up and just fight somebody, just man on, whether win, lose, or draw. You know what I mean? So I give all respect to anybody that step in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just think that's just the respect thing on my end. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't respect him at all, like, period. So, okay. but I also give credit to where it's due. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not easy to become unified champ, going on trying to be the first undisputed champ. You know what I'm saying? That's not an easy thing to do. So I'm gonna give credit to where it's due, but I don't respect him at all. I don't ever put respect in Jamel in one sentence. So.
Okay. Duly noted. Your only other loss was to Jarrett Hurd in a fight where a lot of folks thought you were ahead at the time of the stoppage as well. If you could get a rematch with either guy, which one would you prefer?
I mean, I would always prefer Jamel. I think the stigma, like I said, like you said, the whole way through, not only the fight was just epic for me, it was like the whole build. Like, I finally could be myself, like I was in the 90s, with my cousins and talk my shit, and you know what I'm saying, and be me. Like, I swear to God, that was the first time everybody saw me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the real me. That was like the me coming up at my grandma's house. You know what I'm saying? With my cousins and brothers and all of us talking shit to each other and doing exactly what we love to do. So I think that was like that was like my coming out party, man. So I would always say Charlo before anybody. I think I would love to fight Jared again too, but I think Jared Hurd like that would just be like a great fight. Like, I love Jared Hurd as like a good dude that he is. You know what I mean? I love his camp. I love his parents. You know what I'm saying? So that would just be a good fight for me, but it wouldn't be like nothing extra. For me, I love the extra. Like, I love the extra shit with his team coming in, my team coming in it's World War III. Like, I love the smell of napalm. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the thing.
Love it. So changing directions a little bit. We see you on social media talking about fights in general. You're obviously a student of the game. We've got two young welterweights in step-up fights coming up on April 10. Jaron Boots Ennis and Imantas Stanionis. What are your thoughts on those two guys?
Who was he fighting?
They're fighting separate guys. Boots Ennis and Imantas Stanionis. Yeah.
Oh, I think I seen this. Who did Stanionis? The Stanionis guy fought Deloach, right?
Yes, he did.
Yes,
he did.
Okay. I think he's as tough as they come, but I don't see him having nothing extra than just being that tough guy that just comes forward and tries to break you down the legit tough guy way. You know what I mean? I don't see him being able to do anything different to beat a guy like a Danny Garcia if he was to fight a Danny Garcia who also can punch and move laterally and do everything besides come forward. I don't see how he beats a guy like Boots. You know what I mean? Boots I think is exceptionally special for that division. I went down to Philly and saw him spar. I think he's exceptionally special with the team he have and the things he do and how like consistent and how dedicated he is to his plan. You know what I'm saying? How he's technically sound defensively and offensively. I think he's exceptionally special for his weight, man. And I think he just needs to win. I think he's one of those guys in the world that just needed the opportunity to dance with somebody that he can really showcase his talent on a tougher scale, whether than fighting somebody that we knew what he knew he would wipe out. You know what I'm saying? Like he's starting to get to those lip and nets guys and those, you know what I'm saying, guys on that caliber of a championship level. And now you get a chance to see Boots versus somebody tougher. And this all he needed was the opportunity to show the world. So I think Boots is exceptionally special. I think the other guy is super tough. But toughness in this sport only gets you so far. You know what I mean? Like eventually you're gonna fight a guy that's just as tough, but with a little more skill. You know, with a little more skill set to his game, and I think that's gonna be his downfall. So, but like I said, I think I got prayers for both of those guys to make it as far as the Nile River go. You know what I'm saying? But I just think Boots got something exceptional. So
now at 154, of course, there's that fight which has implications for you, the unification between Jamel Charlo and Brian Castano. How do you see that fight playing out?
That's a tricky one, man. That's a tricky one. I think what Castano brings to the table, though, Jamel done seen in almost every other fighter as small as Castano did. But my thing for that fight is if Castano can take a punch that will come from Jamel Charlo, the work rate that he has is kind of superseded by the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna outwork everybody. You know what I'm saying? If you don't stop him, you're gonna throw 100 punches. He's gonna throw 200 punches. So,
right.
I think his work rate is very good, man. I think the niche in that is if he could take the punch or not. And like I said, I never seen him get rocked. I done seen him get caught a couple good times, but I never seen him rocked or anything. And like I said, you can tell that the pedigree of that guy is high because within like 10 fights, he was on the main screen 12-round fights. So, it's somebody that's pushing this guy that believes in this guy and he believes in himself. And he has a belt now. So he deserves the opportunity to at least kind of prove it to guys like me that he's the real deal. So I think slight edge for Charlo, slight though. But if Castano can take the punch, I know he will outwork a guy like Jamel. As we know, Jamel is a guy that's really like more of a tactician, kind of looking for a perfect shot kind of thing. And but like I said, for me, man, if you're a brother, I'm always rooting for a brother. But you know what I mean? I think I just give it a slight edge for Charlo, just slight though.
Now, getting back to you, I know obviously the goal is to win another world title. Ideally, how does 2021 play out for you in terms of opponents if you had to play matchmaker?
It would be this fight, number one. Number two would be the fight within like let me see this, April would be like a September-ish kind of fight with if I had to match make it would probably be like with a guy like Julian Williams. It would probably be a fight like that. Julian Williams or like a Hurd kind of fight. If it was some pot. If it wasn't a way that Jermell Charlo and Castaño could come into agreement, I would fight a Jermell Charlo or either one, or Castaño. By the end of the year, after one of those fights, like a Julian Williams or a Jared Hurd kind of fight, I would jump right in after that. In the end of the year with fighting for the belt with either Castaño or Jermell Charlo. They can come to agreements and fight like mid year.
I like that. Now, Tony, in closing, we've seen a lot of fans online asking, where's Tony Harrison? When's he coming back? What is he doing? Et cetera, et cetera. What would you like to say to those fans who've been waiting and now get to see you make your return April 17th on Fox?
Man, tell them motherfuckers the realest is back. The realest is back, man. And, I just can appreciate you. Like for me, man, like everybody love me. I'm not doing nothing like out of the box or extraordinary. I don't got the best cars. You don't see me on Instagram flashing the most jewelry. I ain't doing that. So if they love me for the real fucking me. Like they know that they love the real Tony Harrison like that. That guy is really solid. He's really real. He keeps his family around him. Everybody around me, as part of my team, is my family. Like this guy's family fed. This guy's strong as an ox. He did it his way. But tell them motherfuckers the real is back. I'm back. And tell them I appreciate them guys for loving the guy who doesn't facade, who doesn't do nothing extra, who's not living it up to the standards of the society of the world on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? They love me. They know me. They love me. And they waiting on the return of the real. And the real is back, man. The 17th, let's come together. Let's everybody blast them fucking free TVs on Fox, wherever they at. Have a party wherever you at. Get you some drinks going. Get you some hot babes over that thing, and we all gonna represent together, man. Find a way. If you don't got a super bad merch, you find a way to go to your local print shop, print out a goddamn T-shirt yourself, and let's get this party going, man. Let's go ahead and make this a holiday, man. Fresh out of Detroit.
Man, we can't wait. We can't wait to see you back in the ring. Tony, thanks so much for taking the time out to talk to us. We look forward to watching you throw down and look forward to having you back on the show as well.
Thank you, bro. Anytime, man. Let's do this right again, right after the fight, man. Let's do it again.
That's going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Tony Harrison and Vito Mielnicki Jr. for dropping by. Be sure to check back next week for more boxing talk and more interviews right here on the PBC Podcast.